Well, maybe we can do it. Can we do it without a microphone?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Well, welcome very much, Oskar, to the Netherlands. Very welcome here. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to meet you. I wish I could have shaken your hand in your beautiful country, Switzerland, later this week, but unfortunately that was well, forbidden to do so. So we have still a lot of things to work for politically, both in Switzerland and in Holland. Oui. But once again, I'm very proud to have you here as my guest, and I hope to be your guest later. And maybe I'll give you the floor to say some words, and you allow me then to react on what you said.
Yeah,
please.
Okay, I'll do it in French and in German, so they can use it in France and then in Germany. Alors, cher Geert Wilders, j'espère que tu comprends un peu le français.
Un petit peu.
Un petit peu. Mesdames et messieurs des médias, d'abord, je voudrais exprimer toute mon admiration pour le courage exemplaire dont fait preuve Geert Wilders dans son combat contre l'intégrisme islamique. Je voudrais également dire mes regrets de n'avoir pas pu organiser la conférence prévue dans ma commune à cause d'un président socialiste qui a cédé à la peur devant une simple demande de quelques islamistes d'organiser une manifestation pacifique et qui, en annulant le contrat de location de la salle, a violé le droit à la liberté d'expression et de réunion inscrit dans la Constitution suisse. Je suis donc venu à La Haye pour démontrer que l'on peut bien nous priver, Geert et moi, de salle ou d'un auditoire, mais que personne ne pourra nous empêcher de nous rencontrer, de partager nos points de vue et d'unir nos forces pour combattre la doctrine liberticide de l'islam. Puisque Geert Wilders n'a pas pu venir à la montagne, c'est la montagne qui aujourd'hui vient à lui. Ce que les autorités nous disent de plus en plus souvent se résume dans la phrase « Taisez-vous, ce sera plus sûr pour tout le monde ». Ainsi, les esprits critiques, anticorps essentiels d'une société, sont neutralisés. La menace et la violence triomphent. L'état de droit n'étant plus en mesure de défendre les principes fondamentaux, la situation rappelle de plus en plus celle de la République de Weimar. Faut-il vraiment que l'histoire se répète et que par la lâcheté de nos autorités, nous fassions le lit d'un nouveau totalitarisme? Quoi qu'il en soit, je puis vous assurer que Geert Wilders viendra un jour en Suisse, et je sais déjà comment m'y prendre pour que ça ne puisse pas être évité. On va trouver un moyen, faites-moi confiance. Si j'accepte d'apparaître à côté de cet homme accusé en justice de délit de vérité et condamné à mort par les intégristes musulmans qui le salissent, c'est qu'au contraire des médias, qui justement le discréditent pour brouiller son message, j'ai attentivement écouté et lu ce qu'il explique depuis des années. Je n'ai jamais lu de sa part une attaque sur les musulmans en tant que personne. Son unique cible est le dogme islamique, dont les musulmans sont les premières victimes d'ailleurs. Il s'inquiète de voir la société hollandaise être prise en otage par une idéologie qui, peu à peu, remet en question les fondements du siècle des Lumières et de l'état de droit. Et il condamne l'augmentation des actes de violence contre les femmes, les juifs, les homosexuels et les musulmans se convertissant à une autre religion ou se laïcisant. Ces inquiétudes sont également les miennes. Ces critiques également. Ne pas s'ériger contre ces dérives, c'est faire preuve de lâcheté et d'hypocrisie, deux attitudes qui invitent la barbarie à se réinstaller en Europe. Un troisième volet qui me tient à cœur, très personnellement, et c'est la raison pour laquelle je tourne assez souvent en Europe, c'est d'esquisser pour l'Europe un modèle de gouvernance appelé à remplacer l'Union européenne actuelle dont les jours sont comptés. Il suffit d'attendre la prochaine crise financière et on verra que ce sera chacun pour soi et ce sera très difficile à sauver. À ce système dépassé, bureaucratique, centralisateur et antidémocratique, j'oppose une confédération d'États européens, une Europe des nations libres et souveraines, construite depuis la base de la société par des citoyens responsables. Dans une Europe de ce type, les citoyens seront directement impliqués dans la gestion des affaires publiques par la démocratie directe. Voilà pourquoi je sillonne l'Europe, voilà pourquoi je viens aujourd'hui en Hollande discuter avec Geert Wilders, parce que nous aurons, j'espère, une possibilité ensuite d'échanger, au point de vue de discuter longuement. Et j'espère que notre échange qui suivra nous permettra d'avancer également dans ce domaine. Voilà un peu esquisser ma position en français.
Thank you for your, once again, your presence and your visit, which is an honor for me, and thank you for your most kind words. I'm very happy once again that Oskar Freysinger is a guest of me here in the Dutch Parliament today. He's not only a member of Parliament of the largest party of the Swiss parliament, but he's also, as I believe, a very courageous man. A few years ago, not everybody perhaps in Holland minds that, he was a victim of an arson attack, and his enemies tried to burn down his house, and it proves how dangerous it is to criticize Islam, even in Switzerland. And Oskar, but also other Swiss Islam critics, deserves our support. And that is why, when a few months ago Oskar invited me very kindly to come to Switzerland to speak and to discuss in Switzerland the subject of multiculturalism and of Islamization, I was very proud and glad to accept his invitation. I also wanted to meet the man who 2 years ago was the driving force behind the Swiss minaret referendum. As we all know, in November 2009, on your initiative, Oskar, over 57% of the Swiss voters banned the building of new minarets in Switzerland. And I was very proud of that. And we envy Switzerland for its system of direct democracy, which allows the Swiss people to have a direct say of its own fate. And immediately after the Swiss referendum against the minarets, I proposed here in the Kingdom of the Netherlands that we would also hold a similar referendum. And like in Switzerland, I believe that the majority of the Dutch people also oppose the symbols of Islamic domination. However, unfortunately, Oskar, we were denied such a referendum. Indeed, we are hardly ever granted a right to hold a referendum in the Netherlands. And whenever we are allowed to have a referendum, such as the one in 2005 on the European Constitution, the ruling establishment, the ruling elite simply disregarded the results and pushes through its own projects anyway. Unfortunately, even in Switzerland, traditional Western freedoms are being restricted as a result of Islamization. Everybody perhaps remembers that 2 years ago, the socialist government in Great Britain banned me from entering the United Kingdom, where I had been invited to speak in the House of Lords on the invitation of another colleague, a member of Parliament. And I, at that time, successfully appealed against the decision, and a few months later, the Socialist Party was also driven from power. I don't know if the two are interconnected, but I hope at least it had a little effect. 2 weeks ago, the socialist mayor of Saint-Vierze banned me from speaking in the municipal hall of its own town because, as Oskar said, leftish, perhaps even Islamic groups threatened and to demonstrate against my coming to Switzerland. And when the private conference room was found in Sion, demonstrators, again threatening violence, also made that venue impossible. And that is a very sad thing indeed. And it shows, unfortunately, that it has become sometimes impossible, even in Switzerland, to openly and freely discuss the issue of immigration and Islamization. And the fact that we are being treated almost as elected politicians, that we are almost treated as criminals for telling the truth, must, however, not deter us. And I will, and I'm sure Oskar never will, refrain from speaking the truth. That's why we are elected. That's why we are politicians. We want to speak the truth. And I will speak out, even if they have to drag me to 500 courts and threaten to jail me for 1,000 years. The truth will always be the only thing that we should aim for. And our opponents, whether it's in Switzerland, whether it's in Holland, whether it's in other parts of the world, at the end of the day, they will not win. Legal prosecutions, threats, violence will not force us into submission. And I have accepted Oskar's invitation to come. Of course, like he said, he has to find a way how to do it, but to come later this year, I hope, to Switzerland and to be able to discuss the issue that Oskar invited me for in the first place. Because I believe that it's our duty to fight for the preservation of our liberties, and especially the most important of that liberties, which is the freedom of speech and the right to speak the truth. And I'm happy to be able to do this side by side by with courageous politicians such as Oskar certainly is. Once again, thank you, Oskar, for coming to The Hague today, so that together we can make a point that we will not give in, we will actually never give in, and that we are determined to win the battle for freedom in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, and in other parts of the world. We are the men of the West. No one will silence us, and I'm happy that you're here, and I'm looking forward to come to Switzerland later this year.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much.